Next series of questions related to Steph Curry. Is Steph peaking too early? Now, granted, and for those of y'all listening, this question did get sent, a little bit earlier than what we're recording this. So, if some of these seem like they might be talking about a little bit earlier time frame in the season, that's why. Is Steph peaking too early? Can he take his team to the playoffs by himself? And where does he rank on the all-time list of point guards to you? At this point, I don't think there's a such thing as Steph peaking too early. This is just the season he gonna have. Steph looks like MVP Steph again. He spent a lot of last year injured. They had a rocky season, missing him. Being without Clay, Draymond, limiting his minutes, things like that. Steph is just doing Steph things again, and he's putting the team on his back. I definitely think he can take them to the playoffs. Now, I don't know what you're going to expect him to achieve with the team as it is right now in the playoffs, but I wouldn't want to play them as that like a 7 or 8 seed.
I mean, at this point right now, as we sitting doing this recording, they're sitting at the 7th seed. So if they were to be in the playoffs right now, they would play our favorites, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Nothing more for my basketball fandom. Nothing would give me more joy than seeing the Clippers lose in round 1 to the Warriors without Clay. Y'all saw how many jokes we got out of them blowing the 3-1 lead. Do you know how many jokes I have if they lost in the first round to Steph and the boys?
Yeah. Because
let's be honest, what they have around Steph right now in Golden State is okay, but it's not great. Like Draymond at like point center has been amazing from a playmaking standpoint. He can't score for you.
No.
He's not going to give you anything in the points column. He's going to give you as many rebounds and assists as his heart will allow him to put out on a given night.
And I'm grateful that everybody else is stepping up, man. Who would have thought? Kent Bazemore.
What's the man? Toscano Anderson. Andrew Wiggins has been like weirdly important for them.
And Kelly Oubre.
Kelly Oubre out here making believers out of some people, man.
You know what I'm saying? That's
trying to get that bag secured at the end of the season. He know what time it is. Oh yeah, I get to show out next to Steph every night. He can hit threes. I can hit threes too, baby. Go ahead, pass me this left hand corner 3. But I think they can make the playoffs. While I'm again, jokes aside, while I'm making the statement, I would love to see the Clippers lose to them. It might be a little bit of an uphill battle for the Warriors, to say the least. But when you got Steph, you basically got to look at a playoff series like, okay, how many times in 7 games can Steph just win me a game by himself?
That's a very hard question to answer right now. That answer, he just can't. That's just me.
I think Steph can get you at least a game by himself. Just off the strength of, okay, let's use the Clippers as an example, especially right now, given that they don't, like, Patrick Beverly has been hurt most of the season. They don't really have a point guard position figured out. You can look, Steph is going to have a night where he goes like 10 for 16 from 3-point range and has like 40 points. They might only win by a point, but it's a win. Like, you got to take what you can get.
Exactly. A win is a win no matter how you get it.
So I think that could be dangerous come playoff time with Steph. Now, this is an interesting question for me on where he ranks all time for point guards, because I don't necessarily think that I've thought of his career in the lens of a traditional point guard.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for instance, it's hard for me to compare him to, like, a Jason Kidd, right?
Or Stockton.
He's not an assist, he's not an assist piler. He's not that type of player. Steph has changed the game, though. Like, you gotta put some respect on his name from that aspect. But if we're just talking about all-time players that have played the point guard position, the highest I can give him is 3. And I'm torn on that because, of course, we talking Magic Johnson, we talking Jason Kidd. I feel like we got to give Isaiah Thomas some credit here.
You
and
actually have to give Stockton some too.
And for
you can't
those
sit there and just completely crap on him, man.
Right. And so the knock on Stockton, of course, is going to be that he played with Karl Malone his whole career, right? But if we're putting everything out on the table, Steph hasn't played or hasn't won anything without Clay.
Mm-hmm.
It's Clay. It's been him, Clay, and Draymond that have been the Warriors that we know. But the years leading up to those three playing together, the Warriors were nothing special. Hell, we didn't know Steph was still going to be in the league with the ankle problems. So the best I can do for you is third for him. I feel like it's more realistic, like he's somewhere 4 to 6.
You almost going to have to make a separate list. Like you have
traditional point guards on one side and kind of like scoring
guards on another. Because if that's the case, Allen Iverson is going to be the top scoring point guard that you've ever seen.
Yeah.
You think about it. Think about how rugged he had to get. You know, he's 6 foot tall, and he was able to do the things that he was able to do.
Speaking of rugged, I need, whether you're listening to this, Arlington, anybody, just please go back. I did this about a month ago, and I was amazed. Just please go back and watch Game 1 of the 2001 Finals. Just do quick. If you want a real basketball history lesson for yourself, go back and watch the things that Allen Iverson was having to do in that game, just to get a win off the Lakers. That 48 points was a masterpiece. I gotta tip my hat to it. Like that's legendary. Because he gave them a chance in the series that they had no chance in. You look at the roster that he played with, that he took to the finals, his second best player was Dikembe Mutombo.
Exactly.
There's no punchline. There's no follow-up.
You can't even say nothing after that.
That's it. Dikembe Mutombo is his second best player. How does he do that? How does he do it? Not to mention your finals opponent is one of the greatest teams of all time.
Right. Absolutely.
I gotta tip my hat. So if we're considering Allen Iverson a point guard, which I wouldn't, but if we're considering him a point guard in this argument, then Steph is like 6. Because you, again, Magic, Kidd, Stockton,
Isaiah Thomas.
Again, Detroit Isaiah Thomas. We're not talking Boston Celtics Isaiah Thomas from a couple years ago.
Oh.
Making that clear for anybody listening.
Hey, that's with 1 A, not 2 A's.
Yeah. So I want to make sure I clear that up, just so that we don't have any confusion here. I don't want to feel like I'm endorsing some falsehoods.
And you and them getting to us, man, what are you talking about, man?
Right. So we're talking about Pistons Isaiah Thomas because we also I feel like it gets forgotten that he took the bad boys to the finals those 2 years that they won championships.
Yeah.
And if we're being honest, he didn't have another superstar on his team. Joe Dumars was good, but not great in my opinion.
Role players.
They basically were the same thing that the Pistons in 03-04 ended up being. You had one, again, Chauncey's not on the same level as Isaiah.
No star. It wasn't no stars on that squad. I don't care what anybody says.
There's no stars on the bad boy Pistons. And so for him to have led, especially being a smaller guard in that time period, and you're the best player on the team, like he's the only example that we have of a little guy being the best player on the team and then being a championship team. Allen Iverson tried it, but he ran into, again, one of the greatest teams of all time. Outside of that, who else is like 6'1" or shorter and you've been able to win a championship with them as your best player? It's Isaiah Thomas, and that's it.
What's Steph, 6'2"?
It's like 6'2", 6'3".
Okay.
And even then, we've never seen Steph do it to where it's just Steph in parts.
Because I'm about to say, each time that they won the 3 out of 4 championships they won, he never won Finals MVP.
Never won Finals MVP. Now, in fairness to Steph, I do think he should have gotten Finals MVP the first championship.
Yes.
The same thing they did with Andre Iguodala, they did with Kawhi Leonard when LeBron was in Miami. Just because you were the primary defender on the best player in the series, we're going to give you Finals MVP, and that's not how it should work. Like, Kawhi, if you go back and look, Kawhi Leonard won Finals MVP that year against, or with the Spurs against the Heat. LeBron still averaged 30 a game.
But it was how hard he had to get it.
Again, whether I got to work regular time or overtime, I still get paid at the end of the day. I was still getting my 30.
You was going. Hey, you on the court? That's the same thing as people will say about Mike. Mike will go 10 for 30, but he's gonna get that 30 points.
He's gonna get his 30.
But you got to work for it.
Working for it or not, I don't think the reward should have been, okay, just because you made him play hard, you're the finals MVP is supposed to be the best player in the finals. I don't think Kawhi was that. I think he was a great defender in the finals. He wasn't the best player in the series.
Who was a better person?
It should have been Duncan. It should have been Duncan. Just like I think Steph should have been the finals MVP in, I guess that was 2015.
15.
Like, granted, Andre Iguodala did a great job, but LeBron led the series in every statistical category. You could make the argument he should have still been the finals MVP, even in the loss. I actually would have been fine with that. He literally led the entire series, every player in every single individual statistical category.
I would have loved to hear the argument from that one.
That would have been legendary. We're not gonna have a whole lot of LeBron talk in this podcast, but that would have been legendary.
I would love to hear the argument on that.
You won Finals MVP and your team didn't even win the series.
But yeah, Steph ain't top 5 right now.
Nah.
Top 10 probably.
Yeah. That point, like I said, point guard is tough for him. I can't. It's hard for me to compare him to traditional point guards, but if I have to, he's like 5 or 6 all time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he has changed the game, changed the way we play it, changed the way kids play the game, like game changer. But the hard part is too that even though he doesn't have the Finals MVP, he does have 3 rings. So like, how heavy do you weigh that for him against John Stockton, who has 0? How heavy do you weigh his 3 rings versus Isaiah Thomas's 2? You know, like,
yeah.
Hell, if Jason Kidd didn't have the same statistical resume that he has, you could make the case like, okay, are you taking Steph and his 3 championships in the way he's gotten it, or Jason Kidd's career and his 1 championship that he was able to get at the back end?
The same can be said for Magic Johnson. Magic got 5.
Yeah.
And
Magic's untouchable to me. And that's not even just from a Lakers fan standpoint. Magic played 11 years. His team was in the finals 9 years.
Correct.
Record be what it is. He won 5, lost 4. Okay, cool.
I don't think he ever missed the playoffs in his Laker career.
You made the playoffs every year. You were in 9 finals and 11 seasons.
Even the year he came back, I think they made the playoffs.
So Magic is untouchable. It's Magic, J Kidd, and then we can have conversations about the rest.
I mean, the same can be said about Mike, but that's a whole nother story.
We'll talk about Mike in just a little bit.